Hi, Felicia. It's Alyssa, obviously. Thank you so much for being so patient. I do apologize, and I will make sure this is the best reading you've ever gotten in your life. Also, sorry, I scratched my forehead. This whole thing is working for me. I know, but anyway, I'm excited to finally get to your reading, and so let's go through it. You wrote me a few things, and so I'm going to be going. I don't want to like miss anything or like leave anything out when I'm doing your chart. So I will be going back and forth between what you've written me and your chart, so we can make sure that everything is taken care of, responded to. So make sure that your reading is exactly what you need. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have your birth information correctly inputted into the system. So you were born August 23rd, 1994. I have that. August 23rd, 1994 at 3:19 p.m., Worcester, Massachusetts. So this gives you a Sagittarius rising, your sun at 0 degrees Leo, and your moon at 0 degrees. 0 degrees Virgo. Your moon at 0 degrees Aries. Okay. You got 2-0. Sorry. Just like I didn't click that before. You got 2 of your major planets at 0 degrees. This is such a potent number of energy. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, you had a baby, and there's been a lot of things going on with that. You get yourself motivated to focus on grad school and reach your goals of weight loss and getting off ADHD meds. You just had a baby in March and you're really struggling with feeling like you're coming into your full power since you got pregnant. And I'm just going, this is probably not from an astrologer perspective, but having 2 babies and suffering from postpartum depression, and with my second child, could not get my weight off. I think it took me 6 months with my first, and it took me 2 years with my second, and completely jacked up my thyroid. And there were certain transits that were going on, but now I have really bad hypothyroidism that I have to be on really strict diets, otherwise I start to balloon like crazy, which is I did. So I'm not saying that you had this, but I do know personally the transits that affected me, and so I want to kind of see if you're getting hit hard with anything that like is just beyond your control, which there actually seems to be a lot. One, you naturally have Rahu Jupiter and Rahu Pluto, North Node in Scorpio with Jupiter and Pluto in the 11th house. This is a lot of energy towards your dreams. Ton of energy. You have a lot that you want to achieve in this lifetime. So right off the bat, like, I get that a baby thwarted your life, because a baby is your South Node, is your 5th house, is well, it's everybody's 5th house, but you particularly, it's your South Node. So it's this tail end of this dragon for you. It's this energy that in like the Wizard of Oz story, it's having a baby's like Kansas for you. And you don't like living in Kansas. You never have. It's never been this way. But it's just something that you know. And I think what this is for you, like just looking at your chart, is that you had a baby and you're going to love this baby and you're going to be the greatest mother that like ever existed, because you're going to do so much for this baby as far as nurturing and loving and supporting and making sure you give this baby everything. But you're also very aware that what you want more than anything is success, and that's going to show your baby that you can achieve things and that you can go higher. And so the first thing that you need to do is understand that the biggest divide in your chart is this: basically stay home, have children, and your biggest wants of your achieving your dreams. You're always in this divide. And so having a baby, well, I guess you're not young. Just trying to think. You're born in 1994 and you just had one. Well, congratulations. I had my child 7 years ago, and I'm just trying to think how old you are. Sorry, I'm so bad at math. Okay, so what I see is that you were given the baby at a younger age, because you're not missing out on anything. This is something that needs to be fulfilled in your chart. You feel like you're missing out on something, but you're not. you're doing something that is going to give you balance in the end, something that is going to give your life more meaning, more purpose, and is going to carry you on in a way that you can't fully see yet, because it's the 11th house, so powerful in your chart, and it's your dreams, and it's your legacy even on earth. And when you think about how it's this opposite of the 5th house, which is children, having children adds to that. It carries your name on. But that's not necessarily the name that you totally want carried on, because you would like it to be your own. And that is a big need in your chart, especially because your chart ruler is Jupiter, and that is conjunct your North Node. And so it's like you're just hyper focused in this world, like in this outside world. You also have Venus is the ruler of your 10th, and it's in the 10th. So you're very career driven. And that, let's see, wait, where's your Mars? Mars is a ruler of your 4th. Mars is in the 7th. There's this big shadow aspect. Okay, sorry. I'm just saying a lot of stuff, but I want this to come down to it. You probably, based on your chart and what I can see, you are suffering from postpartum depression. And because your 4th house of family is in the 7th house and it's Mars, and your 5th house is Venus and it's in the 10th house, every part of you that wants to create, that wants to build, wants to be seen. And so when you have a baby, one, you're depleted of all your energy, because that baby is taking a bunch of energy. And when that baby is inside of you, they are physically with you. That energy is still there. But when it leaves you, you have a gaping hole of energy that has to be replenished. So go easy on yourself. Really, please. Like, go. So we're so mean to new mothers, and you really need to be easy on yourself for the next 2 years. And I wish I knew that. But like, you just have to like understand that you're missing a lot of who you used to be, because a lot of who you used to be was very external, was meant for the world, had these desires. And you also, I believe, you want to change things. You have a lot of Uranus Aquarius energy, that like 11th house is ruled by that. You have a lot of desire to actually impact the world. And that would have been given to your child as well. So you think about this, you're building them through your own physical matter, and then they come out of you with a lot of your makeup, and they'll have it walking along outside of you until you replenish it yourself. This is part of like the idea of children taking from, when mothers get jealous of their children because they never fully replenish it. So I just want you to understand that you do have these things in your chart that point you to like, having a baby is not necessarily what you wanted to do. It's just going to be fulfillment later. And I really relate to it. And that's why I'm bringing this up. It doesn't mean that that's not what you want, obviously, but it's like you want so much more than to be a mother. And you're all of a sudden hit this wall that is halting it. And a lot of this has to do with, one, the North Node was going through your 7th, which is your shadow. 2, you've had Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn in your 1st house, all in a conjunction. And where Jupiter going through your 1st house would have made this sort of optimistic thing happen in your life. You would have been like, okay, things are going to be like great. They're about to get good. I'm going to have a lot of motivation. I'm going to be able to handle a lot of things, and this would have gone over your rising like a year and a half ago. I don't know, like if you can remember then, if you just maybe had a spark of, okay, things are going to happen. But what then happened was Jupiter got with Pluto and Saturn and halted growth in the way that was exciting and optimistic, and made it very restricted, which is restricted growth is very much pregnancy in some way, incubating some idea or thing or something. What I'm going to say with this is that because of Saturn and Pluto with Jupiter, your baby is very important. Does your baby take away your importance? No. But you do have to work the next couple years to even feel like you got that energy back. But you right now, you're sharing it with your baby, and then your baby will be its own entity, grow into itself, and you will also grow that back. That is not astrology stuff. It's just shit that I had to realize the last 7 years. So, but it does fall in on this. And I'm like looking at your chart, I'm like, your baby is like hyper important. You and even your fifth house, because it's Taurus and Venus is in the 10th, you and your baby kind of in a, I don't know, did you have a, I don't know if you told me what your baby is. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy. I'm sorry, I don't know if you, sorry, that's, I'm like, whatever, like, okay, because what I'm getting, it feels like your baby's a girl, could be a boy. Normally, if you have a girl, it takes away your attractiveness. Girls, it's a old wives' tale, but it says that little girls take away a mother's beauty. They steal mother's beauty. And it's true for a little while because you see this younger version of yourself and you feel like, okay, now I'm dead and they are alive. Either way, it can be either that steal a lot of you feeling attractive, which can take away these feelings of being sexual and being, sought after sexually, which you have your Mars in Cancer in the 7th, which is a big deal here because it's also square your moon in Aries, and that's the ruler of it. There's a lot of shadow sex stuff with you. So I'm feeling for you right now, and it's hard for me to like keep reading the chart. Sorry. Oh, this is what I was seeing, and this is why I was like, it kind of felt like a girl, because I was thinking of like Cindy Crawford and her daughter Kaya Gerber. Like Cindy Crawford is in her own energy, has her own power, and then her daughter has her own career sort of in the footsteps of the daughter, and even gave Cindy Crawford a longer career because of the focus on her daughter, which I feel like is something with you and your child. There's a lot of this energy here that something with you and your child is like this close public relationship later on in life that elongates your impact on society, almost gives you like you're going to have a pull in society in the next few years because you're about to go through your Saturn return. Well, in 2 years, you'll go through your Saturn return. And so that's a big shift and change. And that's going to give you a lot of heightened energy. A lot more power is going to come your way. And then you imagine in 20 years where you feel like losing what you have, and your daughter is going to do, or your son, I don't know, I'm so sorry. If it's not, I'm going to feel really like weird that I keep saying daughter because I'm just like, it just feels that way. But your child is going to have follow in your footsteps in some way. And that's going to bring this younger crowd, whatever they're called, Gen W's or something. I don't know. They're going to be following after you. Again, because they're going to see what you have, that influence. And I'm feeling that so much in your chart. And that is based on the planets in your chart. And I want to tell you that because I know you're going through a lot right now, but things are going to get better for you. They just are. You have a lot of power, a lot of things that need to happen, and they will. And you don't have to be afraid of your future because you have a lot of success going on there. And I also feel like you possibly had a child now so that you would have the time during your Saturn return to grow your career. So I know you said you're most interested in these other issues, so don't worry, I'm not gonna like cut them short because I did want to focus on your child first. But you're most interested in focusing your struggle to get off ADHD meds and how that might play into your Chiron conjunct Mercury both opposing Saturn. You know you will overcome your focus issues one day, and you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You've decided to stay on it, yeah. Just deal with it later. All right, so what we want to do, yes, looking at that Mercury Chiron in the 9th, huge deal that it's in the 9th because the 9th is higher learning, and you have Chiron there, and so it is so important for you to finish grad school. I see that. Opposite Saturn, hello. Saturn issues pop up. Saturn's conjunct Jupiter. It's your chart ruler, and it's in your first house, so you have a baby. So all of a sudden that Saturn's pulling at you being able to get into your higher learning. And it's saying, no, there's other things you have to do. And what you're learning right now is balance, because during your Saturn return, there's going to be a bigger balance that this is preparing you for. So if you look at that divide right now, new mom, grad school, right there. That's your divide. Are you going to have another child during your Saturn return? You could, but that would be something that I think that you should very much have full control over that. Full control. That's up to you and you alone, and what your gut feels and what you like fully put your energy into. And if you don't have enough energy to decide that, don't. Because whatever will happen after the next 2 years is going to be really, really strong and hard no matter what. And so sometimes throwing a wrench into it, like another baby, can make it harder. I had both my babies during my Saturn return, and they were a part of my Saturn return. So I can't say that but I do know that if they weren't there, life still would have been hard. So it's just one of those things. And I don't regret having my babies. I just know that, I don't know, I wouldn't have done it differently now being away from it. But at the time, I can tell you that if I knew it was going to come, I probably would have spent more time thinking about myself and less time thinking about my part in a family unit. Sorry for all the personal advice. It's just coming out of me and I can't stop it. But I would have thought about myself as a unit, as a woman, as having my own goals, and not just that I got married and was trying to give my husband something that he wanted, or my family fulfillment. I can't talk. Family fulfillment. I should have just thought about myself, but that was part of my Saturn return lesson. So you have Saturn in Pisces, I had Saturn in Scorpio. They're both water, so it's just something to think about. Is when you have this water, it's this flowing of boundaries, and Saturn in Pisces is trying to show you how to protect your boundaries and how to limit your self-hatred, because Saturn in Pisces is self-love. Unconditional love is in Pisces, but also to limit your own guilt and shame too about all of the decisions you make that might be selfish. And then it is opposite Mercury in the ninth. So it's you have so many ambitions. So many. But I'm feeling it. I feel, because I'm Pisces rising, so I feel charts as I'm talking about it. And I'm I totally see your divide. I can feel it inside of me. I'm you just are a great mother, and you're super smart, and you want it all, and you're going to get it all. But that's where that balance comes in. You have to balance it. So here's your ADHD meds. You know you're going to get off of them. You will. That is a given. You're right about this. So you decided to stay on them and deal with them later. I actually see a couple things that might be bigger than your Mercury Chiron. I think your Mercury Chiron is part of you. Opposite Saturn is part of you needing to be on some meds right now, but I don't think that that's actually the ADHD. When I look at ADHD, I think about Uranus energy. I think about Pluto energy and the North Node. Your North Node is in Scorpio conjunct Pluto and Jupiter. And your Uranus is conjunct Neptune in the first house. Right now, Uranus is being hit up with the Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, and Capricorn. And so that's is a big hold on you, being okay, don't make any sudden changes right now. And that's because Mercury is the highest octave of the mind, and you have that in the first to the second house. So it is causing you a lot of focus issues, a lot of see, I'm all over the place. I can't read a chart for someone without getting into the energy that I'm seeing, but you have so many things going on in your mind at all times, and it isn't necessarily always even about balancing those. It's just about picking a couple to balance at one time and letting the other ones just run wild, and trying to learn how to be cold to them, being cold to the energies that come into your mind and be I don't have time for that, that's nothing, and just writing them off. And that's probably something that the medication helps you do. You just don't realize it. And so eventually it is something that I think you'll learn how to do on your own, but you're also really young. And I know you feel like you're older and you're getting older because you're going into your late 20s, but you haven't even hit your Saturn return yet. And it's through your Saturn return that we learn how powerful we really are over little things. Not little things, that's a big thing, but because the other thing here is your Pluto conjunct your North Node, and Pluto is transformation in the 11th house, which is naturally ruled by Uranus. So there's so much Uranus Aquarian energy, and you also have Aquarius intercepted, which means you can't find it. So all of this highest octave of your genius is just trying to be tapped into. You're trying to devour it. You're trying to find it, all of your genius. And you could say that your mind is not progressed enough as far as age goes, because age helps us achieve our destination. We don't get there because we're born. You know, it's about growth, it's about energy and getting into it. And you're so smart, and your potential is, and I'm not shitting you here, your potential for genius is so high. It's much higher than most people's. And so you naturally are like, these things should make sense, but they don't yet. So then your brain starts to go into all these different little areas and tries to put it all together. And you do need focus, and especially right now. So I would say, I agree with you. Maybe in a couple years, in 2 years, when you hit your Saturn return, that might be something that you actually decide to get off of. And because Saturn will have gone through your second house in Aquarius, Saturn will be up with your Saturn, opposing your Mercury, giving you a lot of strength of your mind and really helping you balance that out. Now, you do have Saturn opposite Mercury and opposite the Sun, which both those are meaning that your Saturn return specifically is going to deal with very personal things in the 9th house. So if you can finish grad school before your Saturn return, that would probably help you. I don't know if that's a motivator or if that just makes you nervous that I put a timestamp or frame on you, but I don't know how long it's going to take you. You just right now, I think, are being told to juggle those two things, and everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your house is clean. It doesn't matter if you have friends and they need you to perform social obligations. It doesn't matter. And nothing else matters. Just your baby, you, and grad school. And because that's what you're currently balancing. I spent a lot of time rambling to get there, but that's really what I see in this chart, because you are preparing for your Saturn return. Okay, now we're going to go into your sexual expression, how that plays into self-confidence in your chart. You've never had an orgasm despite having an extensive enough sexual history, and know you've tried quite a lot with some men who really did care about making you happy. Finding your current marriage, this issue has amplified to somewhat a lack of desire since I had the baby and have felt so bad about your body. Your husband has the opposite issue. He has issues finishing too quickly and letting himself experience build up. I know we found each other because we're supposed to help each other through these problems, and I'm confident we can, but I think this Mars retrograde has really exposed a lot of those places we need to work at. You've attached your composite chart. Yes, that does help. I'm going to look at this for a second. So one thing in your chart, having your Mars in the 7th house in Cancer, because Mars is sexuality, and then your Venus in the 10th square Uranus. Okay. Venus square Uranus is, I don't know what the terms are. I'm going to guess. It's not that you're asexual. That's not it. It's when you are sexually attracted to someone's mind. Does that make sense to you? I don't know if you would call yourself this. You have to be completely like wanting to be penetrated in the mind by someone, more so than in the body. And that's because Uranus, again, Uranus is the biggest pull in your chart for some reason. It's just like everything keeps going back to it, but Uranus it's hyper intelligence, and it's where your Venus, and your Venus is like what you're attracted to. And so it's like, you're attracted to mental penetration. And that gets you going. In fact, if you had a twin flame somewhere out in the world, they are probably very mentally mentally having like sexual intercourse with you, mentally having it, whatever. I know I can talk about stuff, which this adds to this part. I kind of skimmed this, but now I'm like, okay, this has to do with it. You have intrusive fantasies. You have about an ex-lover. He's a Capricorn. You have Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn, which is square your Venus. And when you met him, you thought he was your soulmate. He's kind of who your subconscious still sees as your embodied animus. We were meant for each other, and that is made explicitly clear over time. But I get these dreams about him. I'm 100% guarantee this guy's your twin flame. And twin flame is like a chain. They're chained to you, and you want to go the opposite ways. And so normally if you're together, you have to run with him, run side by side and give up your life and your freedom for them, because one person has to, if you're going to go the same direction. Otherwise, you're going to build up on opposite directions and feel like they completely are attached to you. There's like weird candle cord cutting magic you can do. I don't know if you're into magic. It does work, like lighting candles and things. I learned a lot about this stuff, but usually the twin flame is not meant for you, and you're wise to understand that. But I can see why it pulls at you because of this. It's a mental thing. I think that you've probably been, because even when you said you dream about him, where there's like a third, he's either a third in your marriage, or you and him are just together and your husband isn't in the picture. Okay. Very twin flame dreams about somebody like you are with them is very much like you've been with them many, many times. I would, in the intrusive fantasies, you shouldn't judge yourself. Your brain can go off on crazy tangents. You're not, okay. I should have just like read this out loud and then gone through the whole thing, but whatever. You're going to get this whole video from me. It's going to be like an hour long of me rambling. He's your twin flame. I don't have to see his chart to just know that. Like everything you said, that's it. And twin flames get you intrusively, because that is also how you have sex, through your mind. So your brain is having sex with you. I mean, like these fantasies, they're penetrating you. That's sex. Everything is sex. Sex, 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 sex. Your sex, you do want it in your body, but that means it has to move down here. Like you have to pull it down. And that's going to take time. And it is going to be something that you'll have to work on, because Mars is in Cancer. Family, close-knit, Saturn's in Pisces, trine it, boundaries. You need more brain boundaries so that penetration only feels right when it goes through your body, meaning somebody has to get close to you. If you look at what's happening here, you have psychic penetration. That means you're feeling something so much on a spiritual plane, there's no way for your body to even matter. Your mind and your consciousness, that's the only power that you have, or that you're capable of giving yourself right now. Now, I would say that because it's related to your mind, that the ADHD medicine might be a part of it, because it can do things to your mind that keep it running the same way, because it's not you who've changed it down to your body. That doesn't mean you should get off of it, but it might be something to consider about this. But your marriage is strong because you have a good chart. You know, like you have you have good synastry too with your husband, and his Mars is on your sun. Like if there's somebody who's gonna like get you to orgasm, it's your husband. Like physically, his Mars is on your sun. Like this is really nice. And then his sun is on your Rahu. Like he charges you up. There's something that he gives you that you feel like you could make happen. And then his Saturn is on your moon, which is also really powerful, because that is your body. Your moon's your body, and Saturn's there causing growth, restriction. That's why you know certain things. When I'm like saying all this and what you're giving me, I'm like, you already know everything. That's why, like, I'm telling you, you're so smart, but you haven't aged enough to get to connect all of the dots yourself, because some things just need time. Some things need your Saturn return. Some things need the lead up to it. The only way to really kind of get out of the relationship that you have in your mind with, say, a twin flame or a soulmate, which totally sounds like twin flame, is to follow it down, to build it up. This sounds weird. In your unconscious, your subconscious, to dream about it, to let it happen, to go into those thoughts because they are intrusive. So you just let them in. You say, okay, you're trying to fuck me. Let's just do it. Let's just get in there. Find in that world and talk. Like lucid dream. They're intrusive because you're halfway denying them. You just have to open up your mind to let it happen, because then you start to learn that you actually have control over all of these thoughts, that they're not just happening to you. I mean, they are, but you don't have to let them happen to you, but you also have to be able to control that world more. Pisces, Saturn, big spiritual world, spirit world, learn how to control it. And being ruled by Jupiter too, understanding that you're in Mercury in the ninth, Chiron, your mind is powerful. It's not weak. Chiron is a lie we tell ourselves. Chiron's telling you that like you can't control your mind, but in turn your mind is being controlled. So the more you get in there, the more you act out in your dreams. If you just were to lay down, take a nap, but lucid dream, just be present in your dreams. Go on purpose, knock down this guy's walls, his doors in your dreams. Talk to him in your dreams. It sounds crazy, it's not. And really, really build up your own power in there, because then eventually you'll start to understand, you'll start to see things, that you're being told things psychically through him, because he's part of you in the psychic realm. Twin flames are psychically connected, not necessarily physically. And because of that, he's probably taking away your orgasms. I'm not going to lie about that. That's a thing. Do you need to worry about that right now? No, it's like a slow growth over time. You get into your energy up here, grow the strength, and then you start to like really let your body respond to the present, to the here and now. It's kind of like you're letting your soul come into your body, and you're not just a robot walking flesh. You are allowing that mental penetration to get into your body and to experience like euphoric bliss on a physical level, because everyone should be able to experience that. Also, I don't feel like when I look at your chart that you can never have sex, like, and just have a great time. You absolutely could. There's just certain little things that are building up within you right now. And I really I see a 2-year growth period for you. This is also, you're going to become more beautiful. Don't fret. You're going to feel more beautiful. You're going to become more beautiful. You're going to continue to flourish in your life. You have late bloomer energy. Like, you don't need to like have everything accomplished now. You don't need to worry. You're growing into yourself. I do think that you'll feel better about your body when Saturn gets into your 3rd house, which is in 2 years, but doesn't mean that the next 2 years aren't going to be a big thing, because Saturn just reached your 2nd house, which is value and beauty, and Jupiter is also going to be there. So I would say find moments with Jupiter and feeling jovial and young and doing things for fun and pleasure, like eating and not hating yourself for it. Or I don't know, just even if at this moment in time you just have to avoid looking at your body because you feel like you can't just look at it and tell yourself that you like it when you don't. And that's okay, until you get to a point where you're just like, I'm okay with what is going on right now, because you know that things are going to change, and sometimes the energy is not for that. Sometimes right now the energy is just for you to work on the internal, and the external will be next. As soon as Jupiter gets into your 3rd house, it will finally be away from Saturn. And it spent 2 years with Saturn. It will have spent 2 years with Saturn, which is a long time for Jupiter to be with Saturn. It's really annoying. This is why life sucks for everybody right now. So Jupiter is going to go with Saturn into Aquarius on December 21st. It will be there until the next year, but then December 22nd, Jupiter is going to go in Pisces, and it's going to be in your 3rd house, which I feel like is a great transitional moment for you to get into the best shape of your life, but also feel the most beautiful. And I'm trying to think of what, and then while Saturn is just in your second, you'll be learning and growing that way, working hard to make your beautifying yourself. That's going to be your greatest time for beautification, actually, is in 1 year. So up until that point, it's not to say that it won't happen, but it's just like up until that point, it's about just accepting your life as it is right now, because these are important moments and you're taking care of a brand new life. You're taking care of your mind by trying to finish grad school. Like, the last thing that you need to worry about is, this is why feeling beautiful is so important, but it's also not the most important. And it's because there are some times where the universe will have you go through these moments of not feeling beautiful so you can find something else to love and cherish about yourself. Or sexual. Not always, we can't always be sexual or beautiful or in our prime, but doesn't mean that you don't go back to that. And right now, this is about you and finishing school, your baby, and your mind. You have a beautiful mind. And I think it's time for you to really fully embrace that, not just on a learning level, but also on a psychic, spiritual level. Because your chart, this is something now that I'm like, I've been looking for these words for a really long time. Your chart is operating at like a quarter of its capacity right now. I can just tell, because you are so incredibly psychically, spiritually, intelligently gifted. And anyone with those gifts would just feel fucking awesome all the time if they knew that about themselves. And so it's not about me just telling you, we know, people can't just be told this is true and then they believe it. You're going to have to find it. And I think that's what you're really getting into right now. And this guy, he might just be the universe finding a way to talk to you by appearing as your twin flame, and coming into your mirror. Because there's another thing about soulmates, twin flames, whatever that energy is, they are a mirror to you. They are your other half, and that's the energy we get. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you this last story, and then I'll be done with my personal anecdotes about anything. My twin flame is so much like me, but much more successful. But I'm smarter, and I'm cuter, and I'm nicer, and I'm more likable. Not necessarily true. We both have polarizing personalities, I guess. He's much more structured and successful, and he's a man. And something that when I first met him, I was completely like drawn to everything that he had, because I felt like it was everything that I needed to have, and I would never get it on my own based on my own personality. The more that I separated from him and got into my own energy, the more I realized I was building up these things I thought I would never have. And when I did get back into like my own dreams of an understanding of past life images and shit I had with him, he would always rise to a place of more success, and then he would leave me. And I'd always felt like a death, that I was just never as important as him, because he needed me to build him up, but he had all the other parts, and I would give him myself to build him up, and he would just leave me. And so what I've learned is that, well, what if it was a reversal? What if I was able to build up everything? He would never give me his power, so I would have to do it without him. But through seeing what he could do, it caused my brain to expand itself and to see more about myself, to know that I also had it in me, but I was allowing him to pick up the other half, the slack, the seventh house. Does that make sense? The seventh house is like that mirror, that soulmate, that twin flame, and that's why it's a shadow. It's something we're like, we can't do it, so we need to find that person to fit. But when we find that person who could fit, we realize this is not right. Why are we butting heads? And it's because you're going the opposite directions. And they just want to take you they want to take you down and deplete you. And you can't let that happen. So you found somebody who truly, truly is better for you. And I see that's even his Rahu Venus is on your midheaven. Your husband's going to help you so much with your career and be so supportive. you guys have a really good chart. I want to also tell you that you picked wisely because you're going to grow together and grow more in love and happiness and supporting each other. You're very supportive, and that's the most important thing to do with an actual marriage, because marriages in a physical realm are so much different than our spiritual selves. And I just want you to get in touch with that spiritual self so that you can bring that down and make your physical life as powerful as possible. And if there's things about this guy that run through your brain, look at him as an inspiration, talk to him in your mind, figure out, even ask him. Sometimes you can do this. You can like lay down, close your eyes, go into this intrusive fantasy and ask him, what do you have that I don't have? And then start taking that from him, depleting that energy in your mind. Take it for yourself. And another thing you could ask is, what do I have that you don't have that you want? Why do you keep coming to me? And then listening to that, journaling, writing it down, figuring that out, because I think that there's something in your brain. It's trying to tell you something. It's trying to expand your mind, trying to show you who you truly are. And at the end of this all, when you get into your full energy and you start operating at like full capacity of your chart, you're going to look in the mirror and be like, how come I never knew this? How come I never knew who I was? How come I thought that I wasn't like the most perfect person in the entire world? Because seriously, you have so much that you're going to give the world. And you already know that deep inside. It's just about following that higher self into that new energy, into your new life. And yeah, I hope that I answered all your questions. Sorry for talking so much about stuff that's personal to me, but I really do feel like you're in a position that I was for so long. And I see, like, you know, the transits going and everything. You're moving out of this old world, and it sometimes feels very depressing when you reach the edge of the old world, because then you can't see anything in front of you and everything seems to be bogus and stupid, and all you can do is have a dream or an idea of this new reality, but to actually get there is hard. And so right now you're going through this threshold. And I do think things are going to change in December, and then again the next year, and then again the next year. You're going to have like very different years every year. Things are going to change for you. Like New Year's, it's not going to be like the same 5 years, the same shit's happening. It's like, no, this is aggressively different every year. And in 4 years, you're not even going to know who you are. In 3 years, you're going to barely know who you are. And in 2 years, you're going to be like, holy shit. In 1 year, you're going to feel like, man, I'm amazing. And in the next couple months, you're already going to see a difference in yourself, just by placing value on the things that you can do right now and knowing that everything else is going to fall into place. I also really do get, like, this word model keeps coming into my head. So there's something with you just being like really, really beautiful. I mean, I can't see your picture or anything, and maybe, I don't know if you feel that way or whatever, but there's some very beautiful part to your chart, and that actually looks like your face, that your face will be used as something, as a part of you selling yourself, like a hooker, but knowing that your face actually will change, and on its own, the more you get in touch with your mind, things will become more exciting for you. And I think that you're the kind of person that people look at and they're just like, I love to look at you. And yeah, that's what I got for you right now. Anyway, I could probably keep talking. No, I don't think I can. I think I said as much as I need to say without putting too much into this, or too little. All right, Felicia, thank you again for waiting, and I will talk to you later. Bye.